Hey, howdy, and a big welcome back to Clem Hawks, folks. I'm Yak, ready to take you through this morning's NHL offering. Specifically, we're getting back to the good old Minnesota sports and discussing the Minnesota Wild, who have two guys with Team Sweden that just ended up playing a pretty fantastic game against Finland to open up exhibition at the World Juniors in Edmonton yesterday. And well, you know what? The big headlines there was the goaltending in that matchup, and Jesper Wallstedt getting a lot of love from across the hockey world, but more specifically, Minnesota Wild fans are absolutely hyped based on the performance they saw out of their goaltender, their young goaltender, at the World Juniors exhibition game last night. Folks, if you're new to the channel, what I want you to do is take the next 5-10 minutes, consider subscribing. We talk broadly NHL, MLB, but specifically usually about the Wild and Twins as much as possible. However, folks, you know what? End of day, right? For Wallstedt, this is a big time tournament. This is the chance to really launch yourself ahead of the pack in the Minnesota Wild crease as things develop this season, right? Obviously, he's going to be there at the AHL level. I think almost no doubt about it. However, when it comes down to it, for Wallstedt, who's ahead of him? Gustavsson, right? Gustavsson is ahead of him. And is Gustavsson, yeah, he's the prototypical backup, sure. But for Gustavsson, there's a lot to be lost here if a guy like Mr. Wallstedt can really have a phenomenal start to the year and come up at some point and maybe steal a job for a couple of months when somebody's injured. That's kind of what the season's going to look like for Jesper Wallstedt. You gotta also remember Sweden's got Liam Ohgren on the lineup as well. But for the big Swede in Wallstedt, this is a big time start to what is going to be a hectic next 2 months for him. Because for Wallstedt, it's going to be basically you go through the World Juniors, you go to prospect development camp, which is for the prospect games that you'll play, and then you're going to be in training camp, guaranteed. Right now, I'd say Wallstedt is the organizational three goalie with the Minnesota Wild, so it's almost guaranteed that yes, indeed, he will be there at training camp. And this is a kid they traded to draft. They are pretty high on overall. And it's just a situation where, you know what, he trends up faster and faster. You are not going to be able to ignore getting him into the lineup sooner and sooner. And that's kind of the deal Bill Guerin has here for the Minnesota Wild, is finding the proper development curve for Jesper Wallstedt, who has been around a couple of years now, but just has to basically find that next gear in his game and really start pushing for a lineup spot. That's kind of the interesting part here, right? Wallstedt starts pushing for a lineup spot. Suddenly you're interested. But that all starts today with the World Juniors over the next 2 weeks, right? The World Juniors run until about August 20th, 21st, somewhere in there. And this is going to be Jesper Wallstedt's tournament to lose, right? He's a guy that his pedigree as a goaltender says that based on what Sweden has other places on their lineup, they should be able to walk to a gold medal. Obviously, yeah, Canada's always going to have something to say about that. Finland's always going to have something to say about that. USA might have something to say about that. But at the end of day, Sweden's got the goaltender that does walk you to a gold medal more than likely. So it's up to him to really have a good World Juniors. And then if he doesn't, he has to keep his confidence up and get into prospect rookie camp, and then yeah, into main camp as well, where he'll be used. I'd guarantee if he's at Minnesota Wild main camp, which he should be by all understanding on my end, he'll walk in there and play 2 or 3 preseason games. So you'll want to keep an eye on that as well, folks. But that's really all there is for today's Minnesota Wild update. I'm Yak. This is Clem Hawks. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am up on out of here.